Hello, and welcome to Soul Aligned CEO Podcast, the show that shares the journeys of entrepreneurs from all around the world who have started businesses and they are doing that soul aligned. I'm your host, Jenny Maury, and on today's episode, I have really two things that I'd like to share with you. First, when you are hearing this episode for the first time, it will be October 25th, and that is the 2-month anniversary or birthday of the podcast. And so it's just a really exciting thing to think about. This is episode 12. I started the podcast at the end of July, kind of on a whim, and I had a strong nudge to share the stories of all of these entrepreneurs that I had the honor of being in a masterclass with, held by Danielle Page. And something inside of me told me that I need to share these stories. And so the idea for this podcast began, and I spent about a month figuring out just the basics of how to start a podcast. And on August 25th, I launched the very first episode, the origin story. And then shortly after that, I began having guests on the podcast. So this has been such an extraordinary experience. It's crazy to think that it has been 2 months already, and I have enjoyed every minute of it, from meeting everyone, setting up the podcast, learning how to edit, all of it. It has been such an extraordinary adventure. And so, with that, my message really is, if you really feel a nudge to do something out of your comfort zone, even if it sounds crazy at first, don't ignore that nudge, because I keep thinking about, what if I had just blown it off and didn't follow my instinct and start this podcast? I can't imagine, because the last 3 months have been absolutely just so special and so much fun. And having 2 months worth of podcast episodes up and behind my belt, my confidence continues to grow, and I just expand and learn as each week passes by. So I want to thank everyone who has supported the podcast, who has been on the podcast. This week we'll be doing some special celebrations, and I'll be acknowledging everyone that has been on the podcast so far and has just been a really special part of this whole thing coming together. So thank you. And I look forward to continuing to have more milestones and celebrate. So, with that celebration, my main topic for today's episode is the importance of community. And this concept of community has always been one that has been important to me. Different aspects and different times in my life, I've had different types of friendships and community and people that have like-minded interests. I think we all do as we evolve and kind of go through life. However, over the last few years, as I have kind of maybe gone down a different path, I have found it a little bit more challenging to find people interested in similar things, having a same vision, and especially a passion about doing work that's soul aligned. And so, kind of an unexpected outcome of the podcast is this formation of a community. And to be honest, now that I am experiencing it, I think that this is actually the main purpose of the podcast. Now, it's great to have all of these episodes each week where we can learn about new businesses and tips from entrepreneurs who are right in it and in action. But really, one of the most extraordinary things that has come out of the podcast is each guest that comes on and each person that's interested in the podcast, we've all started to come together and be a part of a supportive, encouraging, and inspiring community. And I never really saw that as a potential outcome, but it's the most beautiful outcome that could have expanded from this. And so, our group is, somewhat small now, but we're very active on Instagram. So if you're interested in seeing the energy and what we're doing, definitely check out the podcast Instagram page. It's just Soul Aligned CEO with underscores in between, and I'll put that in the show notes. But we are a small community of entrepreneurs that are really passionate about supporting each other and inspiring each other. And so each week we are interacting on each other's posts. We're sharing ideas, we're giving feedback, and we're really encouraging each other. And it's just a really wonderful thing. And so being in this new community just got me thinking about how important having community really is. And especially since 2020, when a lot of things have changed for many people, and you may find yourself working more online, doing things more online, and it's really easy to feel isolated. And I know for myself, have spent a lot of time over the last few years feeling like I didn't have that connection. A lot of people in the spiritual community, especially, often talk about, finding your tribe. And that was something that had seemingly eluded me. And I never, could really understand why. But then, and this kind of takes me back to something that Dr. Wayne Dyer often spoke about, is you often find what you're looking for through acts of service. And now I see that because really, when I started this podcast, I was doing it to help others in any way that I could, and for myself to learn and grow. But it really is an act of service, and it's coming, straight from my heart. And because of that, this really extraordinary community has come together. And it's just such a blessing. And I'm so grateful for that. And so I just want to throw that out there, that if you are at a place where maybe you wish you had more connection and you're not quite sure how to find it, consider different ways that you can be of service and support others. And it's really magical how the universe responds to that. So, in addition to kind of the support in the community, the other thing that we're doing that's also so helpful is we're really sharing feedback and tips. And especially as entrepreneurs, I think it's so helpful to get ideas and to see how other people are approaching tasks and activities that all of us as entrepreneurs are working through. You can often get into a rut with how you are creating content or generating leads, interacting with potential clients. And so it's really interesting to see the techniques and the tools that other entrepreneurs are using to do that. And so that's something that's really important to me in the Soul Aligned CEO podcast community also, is that we're always learning from each other. And if someone finds a way to do something that really works well for them, we're sharing that. We're talking about that actively each week and each month. And so, again, if you are an entrepreneur, and especially if you are in a soul aligned business, I really recommend coming over, checking out the Instagram page, seeing our community and the different activities that we do over there, and seeing if it might be a fit for you, because we welcome anyone that is in that same energy and is excited to support and inspire and to learn. So that's what I wanted to share today. Again, just a celebration of the 2-month anniversary of the podcast. And I really look forward to many more milestones. And I appreciate everyone's support and really just the importance of community. And it is just phenomenal to me how this has evolved. And I'm really excited about where this community is going. And I just strongly suggest that if you're seeking something, to really look at how you can be of service, because I think the world needs just a little bit more of that right now. So I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I wanted to keep it short, and we're going to just spend the week celebrating the accomplishments of those that have been on the podcast and those that are going to be, and really just generate that excitement and engage in the community. So I hope that you found this inspiring, informative, and maybe you've even gained some insight. And I wish you all the best as you pursue being soul aligned.